Yeah. List tools.
You would already,
There we
yep,
go.
yep, recording in progress. Okay, I don't see any public here, so I don't have any public comments. There's Dominic, great. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of December 10th?
I move we approve the minutes from December the 10th.
Can we add to that as amended by Stephen?
As amended by Stephen. Stephen, what did you find? I didn't find anything.
I left out a small word that clarified a sentence.
All right. All right. All right. Do I hear a second?
I'll second Brad.
Okay, Brad seconded. Any corrections and changes other than what Andrea had suggested?
Well, and I actually took that sentence out because I felt like talking about funding wasn't really, long-term funding wasn't really relevant to the topic.
Yep, I
And
agree.
I asked her for a clarifying statement and I didn't get that, so I just removed that sentence if that's okay with everyone.
Yep, that's fine. Okay. So hearing no other changes, roll call vote. Stephen?
Thomas, aye.
Brad?
Foster, I.
I don't see Dale here. Penny?
I
Molly?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And myself, aye. The minutes have been approved. Okay. Dominic, do you want to talk about the MVP grant proposal? And although we probably are not going to vote, I'd like you to tell us where we're at with that.
Sure. And apologies for not having something for you to vote on today. We received a proposal a week ago, and the project manager was on leave with family emergency. And now that he's returned, I was able to make contact yesterday. So we've been trying to scramble to get something together. He wasn't able to make adjustments as his overhead is overseas on another project. So anyway, we've been trying to accommodate tonight's meeting. The reason that I needed to review this with our designer, solar design, for the revision or for the design of a battery system for the PV, for the roof PV. We got a proposal for them to do the documentation that we want to use to apply for the MVP grant. Their proposal was, I think, very high, and it was I needed to review it with them first. So they included in their scope of services work that they've already performed. So there was a lot of coordination that was already performed between me, Solar Design, and Mary Ann to better understand how we can meet the MVP requirements. So Solar Design were incorporating a lot of that background work that they've already done. They looked at specifying the batteries. How do they design quadrupling them? And then the systems required to make that work interface with our building and the roll-up generator system as well. So it's highly customized. It's something that they've already put a lot of time in to kind of get to where we are. The proposal also included, obviously, the documentation that they need to do. And then following that, if we're successful with the MVP grant, the commissioning of all of that. So they feel the need that they should, provide their services to make sure that all of this works, which makes sense. So in my discussion yesterday with the PM, it at least gave me some more clarity as to the scope of work.
Mhm.
I was able to get revised numbers from them yesterday, but I have not been able to, I didn't have a chance. I basically saw an email come a few minutes ago before this meeting. So I haven't been able to formalize something to submit to you. I was able to have them reduce that number to about 30% from where it was originally, which is their bottom line. The way that they priced their proposal was in two phases. One was for construction or for documentation, and the other was for commissioning. My intent to review with Solar Design was, and I wanted to discuss it with you, was I feel like the town is somewhat exposed in approving this um, uh, proposal without actually having the grant guaranteed, right? So
Mhm.
that was kind of my position to go back to Solar Design. So the way they were able to revise their proposal now is that they have a base fee for the documentation which we need for the MVP grant application, and then any commissioning services can be negotiated thereafter once we have the grant and we have the contractor on board who's going to do that. So a little bit of negotiating there about how this system will be commissioned. So I have a high level number right now, which I'm happy to share because I don't think we'll get a lot of movement out of Solar Design, but I don't know if that helps expedite an approvals process tonight without having a formal document to share. Um, I think high level, Elaine, Marianne maybe was a little bit more familiar on the schedule
Mhm.
of the MVP grant and what we're trying to do to get in on a certain date. I don't remember on the top of my head whether we're trying to make a certain date. I can definitely get documentation turned around by tomorrow to share to you. Don't know if that helps the group at all, whether you need to meet again and make an approval. So again, apologies for the kind of scrambling last minute here.
And
That's
that high level amount that
yeah.
includes both um, the commissioning and the designing, that
Yeah.
high level amount is,
So I have two numbers. One
okay.
is documentation and commissioning came in at around 18 grand.
Mm-hmm.
It was below 18,000. Without the commissioning component, it's around 14,000 thereabouts.
And the 14,000 is what we need to go forward with the revision of the MVP grant. And correct me if I'm wrong, what we're talking about is we are revising our proposal for the MVP grant to take out the Ford Lightning truck that was originally in the grant and put in battery storage.
That is correct. And my understanding from Marianne's communication with the MVP folks was that they were already made aware of our intent
Yes.
and what Solar Design have already been able to work out as far as compliance of a quadrupled battery system. That design will work with our system. That's already been vetted with our electrical engineers, Bala. So
Mhm.
and MVP have been made aware that the Ford truck is out of the picture for our application. We're looking to use batteries. And it seemed from Marianne that high level they were on board with that.
Yes, yes, they are.
Right.
So, but what we need to do is to approve this 14,000 in order to move it forward to go back and revise the MVP grant proposal so that they all see that and agree to it.
Right. So that 14,000 and change is going to provide the town with the documentation that we need to include in that grant app. So it'll be all of the electrical solar design documentation that we can then also share with CDI, the GC, for them to price. So we can kind of have two things going simultaneously, as I understand it.
Yes.
And these dollar amounts are after the 30% reduction?
Yes.
Okay. And we're not duplicating any commissioning services with our other commissioning firm?
That's a good point, Jeff, as far as that would be something that we would need to negotiate with the commissioning agent we already have on board. I think the expertise of solar design specific to the customized battery system might be better kept with solar design. But again,
I agree.
they will definitely know the ins and outs of this system and be able to troubleshoot, I would say, more effectively than the commissioning agent. Seems highly specialized.
I don't want to pay twice for the same thing. That's all.
So the battery is not part of base bid. And so its specific commissioning is currently not a part of that contract. Correct me if I'm wrong, Neil. That's I would expect that our commissioning agent has no placeholder for that currently, as it's not a part of the base bid at all.
Yeah, I don't believe their work would be limited to what was in the contract.
Right.
You have a question?
I have a question. Are you asking me?
Yes.
Okay. I just don't know what commissioning means. Can you?
So commissioning is really ensuring that the system works after installation. So it's troubleshooting, testing, and coming up with solutions if things are not working properly. So commissioning, we have a commissioning agent already on board that is looking after the mechanical equipment. We're also doing envelope commissioning, so testing the building envelope for sound construction. There's many things that go into that. And so commissioning is also considered for this battery system, just to make sure that the installation was done correctly, that everything works properly and as it should.
And so this work, the 14,000, is necessary to apply for the grant. And if we get the grant, it'll cover the cost. And we have whatever risk there is that we do the work and we don't get the grant.
Yes. Yes. But we have been assured, the folks at MVP have already given us, well, they haven't given us the grant. They have said that we are getting the grant, and it was based on the Ford Lightning truck. And now we're going back and revising to put in the battery storage instead of a Ford Lightning truck, which was not viable. And they have agreed to that. So it's kind of, where are we in this process? We need to have the $14,000 in this in order to complete the whole process and to get the MVP grant, which they keep telling us we are getting.
And the grant will cover this work.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And this is Penny. I have another question. And none of what we're talking about, Dominic, covers the cost of the actual battery storage. We're just talking about designing it and commissioning it.
That's correct.
And so we don't have a cost for the storage itself.
We have a high level estimate, and I don't have that up right now. I'm trying to remember what it was. I can get that for you. I'll get back to you with that question. So we do have a high level number. I think to get a more accurate number, we with the documentation that we get from Solar Design, if this proposal is approved, they'll take a week or two to get the documentation, whatever the timeline is. And then we share that with CDI, who will price it again. And so that will be the hard number. But Solar Design did a high level estimate of market value, what they would expect general installation. So if you don't mind giving me just a
No,
bit
I'm
here.
just trying, this is all new to me, so I'm trying to understand and also translate this into the minutes that I'm.
So this is basically changing the grant proposal as they told us we could in order to replace batteries for the truck. And so the solar design has to design the system, and then we have to price out what the batteries cost, and then we bring it to the MVP, who says, yes, this is fine. We're going with this process, and you have the grant. And so it'll all pay for it.
Right.
But do have to make the leap that we accept Solar Design's estimate for their design of the system before we actually get the grant in hand.
Right, okay.
And Elaine, is this a state grant or a federal grant?
State,
Thank God.
yes, it's state.
Okay.
And have they asked us to sort this out by a particular date, or is it up to us?
It's, I think it's on us, but it's as soon as possible because it is in this fiscal year.
Okay.
So that's why I'm bringing it forward today so that we can move ahead with it. And they have been very accommodating to us so far, but I don't want to stall this any longer than necessary. Dominic, did you get that number?
Yeah, I have an estimate, not including permitting or installation, but for materials, basically, we're looking at around 65,000.
And the truck itself was, I believe they said, was it 85,000? Was the original for the Ford Lightning?
Something, yeah, that I don't recall. It
I'm
was
pretty sure
in the
that's-
ballpark,
I'm
right?
pretty sure that was the number they had. So we're talking about something similar in dollar amount, but very different in concept.
Mhm.
Neil, do you have any input for us on this?
No, not particularly.
No insight on this. And so I guess what we need to do is we need to vote on agreeing to Solar Design's estimate cost in order to move this step forward, knowing that there's a potential that it's approximately $14,000 that we possibly will have to cover ourselves, but we're being assured that it will be covered by the grant in order to move the step forward to applying for this grant that we've already received, but modifying it. How about that?
But do we only have to approve the $14,000 for the documentation
The
portion?
design right now.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, Stephen.
So the documentation number, 14,000, is that reflect a possible reduction because of duplication of work? Or is that something that's still to possibly come? In other words, could the total amount be lower, or is that the amount?
For
So
design service?
the initial I'll quickly go through it again. The initial proposal included two phases, one for documentation and one for commissioning. I believe, and so the second proposal breaks it out so that they're only charging for the documentation. And that would then at least release them to provide the documentation that we could go to the MVP group grant to secure that first. The commissioning, I think, is a requirement, but just the same as we aren't sure exactly how much this is going to cost, right? We still need this documentation so that our contractor can price the actual work because they're going to perform the work. So that's also an unknown, which needs to be coordinated into this grant somehow, Elaine. I'm not exactly sure whether that's, that there's flexibility there in the grant approval. That's also an unknown. So the commissioning is an unknown. That solar design have broken out right now because that's something that happens after installation anyway. And we also don't know what the actual construction cost is. We have a high level number, an estimate, but not the bid price, let's say.
Right, and so to move this forward, we need to approve this documentation portion in order to get it to CDI to cost out the actual construction of it, and then put that in the grant proposal with the commissioning and move forward, but we can't move forward before we approve this phase.
And the 14,000 does or does not include commissioning?
Does not.
Does not.
Okay, want to make sure.
And one more stupid question. When you say documentation, you're talking about design? Is that what the documentation is?
Yes, it'll be the full design and presented in drawing form. And with that, then the GC will have everything they need to at least price and then use the same documentation to install. Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell me if I'm right on this. It sounds like this is probably extreme, but we're between a rock and a hard place in that we can't move forward without doing this step, and we don't have total information about this step or the rest of it. But in order to get the rest of it, we still have to do this step.
Yes.
In that case, I would say, let's do it.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that well, first of all, you had said 14 plus. I'm not sure. We don't want to cut that number short.
Right, what was the number, Dominic, do you have an exact?
I don't know. So I'll have that to you tomorrow. So I don't know if
Can we make a motion to approve up to 15,000?
Yes.
We can.
Is that adequate, Dominic?
yes, that I will have the documentation tomorrow. Yes.
So up to 15,000
For documentation
for documentation,
of battery storage.
for design. Yep,
Battery
Okay.
storage system.
design of the battery storage system. Did I hear a motion from somebody?
I made a motion.
Pardon.
It was just what you said.
I'll second that.
That's Stephen. Any more discussion on this? Hearing none, I will take a roll call vote.
Helmut, aye.
Foster, I.
Pool eye.
Jakes, aye.
Moss, I.
Quackenbush eye.
Paleo, aye. All right, so we are there, and we will we'll definitely have to come back to discuss when everything is designed and costed out. I believe, well, no, actually, we won't, because this will go in for the grant proposal, and this is the $15,000 max is the only thing that we will have to pay for if the grant doesn't come to a fruition, but I believe it will. I'm pretty sure it will. Thank you. So beyond that, I would like either Neil or Roger to give us kind of an overview update, because the three of us have been going to the construction meetings, but we haven't had any meeting to update the committee on where we are and what the progress of the actual project is. So if you wouldn't mind giving a quick overview.
With framing, they were not there 2 days this week because of the cold.
Roger, can you get closer to your microphone?
There we go. Does that work?
Yep.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. The resumed with framing today. There is for the center wall down line 2, which kind of divides the building there from the southern end. They're almost up to the children's area with the wall framing and the rafters on the east side. Have done the south end wall, haven't done the north end wall or the jog. The blue lamp materials and the decking arrived on Monday. Under mark today, windows would be like late February. You're ready. We did not get a updated project schedule from CDI this week.
You did not?
Not.
Did not. Okay. That answers the question I sent you today. Okay.
Yeah, they didn't give us an updated one, and I think the weather may.
When are we going to get a new schedule? Can you guys
Yes.
start pressuring them?
Yes.
We'll have a new one by Monday.
I would hope so. We'll ask the ride one.
They've been submitting them pretty regularly each month, I think, Roger, have they not?
They're not sitting on bid docs if they are. There's one schedule on bid docs that goes back to December.
Mm-hmm.
So there's smoke and mirrors. We can't track it.
Okay.
I have
And
to
that's
say,
why I sent you the email.
from watching from the outside, it seems like everything is moving at a glacially slow pace. Is that a correct observation, or do I just not understand what's going on?
I'd say that's pretty accurate that they have been going slow with the framing. They've been back and forth with Dominic on questions, and he's given them the information, so they're proceeding, and the hope is that to get the wall done, that things move a lot faster. They, may increase their workforce as they get ready to do the glue lamps.
Can they not finish the framing until the glue lamp is in place? Is that part of what's holding things up?
The glue
Yeah.
lamps are part of the framing.
Mm-hmm.
Glue lamps are for they're the exposed portion of the roof framing over the meeting room
Mm-hmm.
area, the children's area. That's the west side of the building. Now that they're on site, so they've got the walls in place, and their expectation is that the roof framing will go a lot faster than the decking is on site. It's not a material issue at this point.
So how far are they behind schedule in your opinion? Neil?
When I last spoke with Donnie, he said they were running somewhere between right around 4 weeks behind.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's done anything to improve that
Yeah, I
in
tend to
the
agree.
first couple of weeks in January. So I would say, by my guess, probably somewhere in the 4 to 6 week range.
Yeah. The schedule that they have posted shows framing complete by the end of this month. That's only a week away.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna make it.
I don't think they're gonna make that either. Yeah,
To Roger's earlier point, I know one of the things that we were waiting on were the glue lamps, but
Mhm.
apparently they have been delivered to the site.
Yep.
So that's a good thing. They
Yeah.
got some work laid out in front of them.
So I,
Is
they
this, should we be concerned about this, Neil?
Um, I mean, yes, but I'm not sure that, there's a financial remedy to the contractor if there are delays incurred on the project. There's language in Mass General Law that allows a contractor to request an extension of time, which is essentially a waiver of liquidated damages, but they're not entitled to costs associated with an extended period of performance. That said, our contracts for services and Dominic's contract for services do not are not governed by the same laws, if you will. And if we are to stay there longer than originally anticipated, I would imagine there would be an increase from each of us. Not to speak for you, Dominic, but
So we should be concerned about this then.
Am I
There's not
right?
much-
In that exchange, am I right that we don't have a lot of choice, force impact?
we can ask, we can request the contractor to provide a recovery schedule. The contractor has already gone on record and requested, informally requested a 30-day extension last month when we raised the issue. He cited there were several questions, missing information from drawings that was impacting his ability to progress the job. And by the time he got that information, he had lost several weeks on the framing schedule. So that's not necessarily his fault that the information wasn't there. But at this point, we can only push him so far. And when it's 0 degrees out, it's awfully difficult to hold them to a schedule that when your compressor lines are freezing and whatnot, it just makes it hard.
Right.
And granted, that's not your problem. They bid the job. They were supposed to have the frame up and done before winter, and they lost time at the beginning because of the foundation issues, and then they lost time again during the frame. So, I mean, and again, just to follow that through in trying to get ahead of it, we encouraged the contractor and had a coordination meeting with the envelope system of the building, the AVB, all the various details and whatnot early, so that if they had any questions, they could get them asked. And Dominic and his crew would have an appropriate amount of time to do their I dotting and T crossing and get that stuff addressed and back out so the contractor could build efficiently. So we're trying to stay ahead of them, and we'll continue with those pre-construction conferences ahead of time. And hopefully the contractors will come to work and we'll be in good shape.
Okay.
And I recall, Neil, that you commented, I think at our last meeting, the dilemma is if we start having a dreadfully snowy, cold winter, everything gets slowed down even more.
That is correct.
Mhm.
How close are they to being closed in? Do you have
Not-
any idea?
Roger, can you address that?
Yeah, could you say that again?
How close are they to having the building closed in so that they're inside?
They're still a ways away with getting the sheathing on the building.
So you're saying a ways away is that
Right.
the end of February?
Yeah, I think so.
That's,
I think
I
they're.
mean,
I think
they said that they would not probably have it closed in until the 1st of March. The last time I asked.
Ask them, yeah, but can't see it being later than that if things progress, smoothly with the roof, but, rather tight, yeah.
Okay.
Still, more windows, Marco was saying, are, late February, if they're ready for them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Can
I
someone
don't-
who knows about construction explain to me why they are putting sheathing on the east side of the roof, but none on the west side? Is it because of the missing glue lamb, or is it some other thing?
Yeah, that's right, Penny. So our building is designed in two sides. So the sheathing that you're seeing going up now is
Mhm.
on the roof rafters that are 2x12s, whereas the other side, the exposed roof, is on the western side of the building, are going to be predominantly glue lambs. And the order of construction on that side's a bit different. So
Mhm.
we have exposed decking boards, tongue and groove decking boards that go on that side of the roof. Whereas the eastern side that you're seeing now, none of that's actually exposed. And so that's just
I think
sheathing.
what you're seeing is the wall sheathing on the east side, which is more of a solid wall. The
There's
west
none on the
side,
roof
a
yet.
lot of large window openings.
I'm
I
sorry.
know the walls are sheathed. I wasn't sure if the roof is sheathed,
No,
that
it's
western
not.
side,
No,
eastern side yet. Not yet.
walls, but most of the western side is large window openings, so
Hmm.
not seeing any sheathing on that side or very much of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Are there any subcommittee reports?
I'll make a report on behalf of the Friends. So in 2024, the Friends of the library raised a total of $130,000, which is awesome. Giving days total plus end of year giving was 46,000, and we had an anonymous $5,000 gift, which is wonderful but quite mysterious. And then for the engraved pavers, we sold 188, or we had 180 pavers purchased and raised $27,000, of which 18,000, 19,000 is profit. So that was great.
That's going to look great.
Yeah, they will.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else? I don't want to keep people if there's nothing to really discuss, but I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to let us know if there's something that they need to hear.
Jeff, to your point, I did send out an email this evening to Donnie at CDI and asked him to provide an update for the schedule, as well as shared the concerns of the committee with him directly. So as soon as we get an answer, we'll get back to you. And if nothing else, I'm sure we'll hear from them on Monday in our meeting.
Thank you very much.
Yep,
You're
and
welcome.
we're on site on Monday.
Yep.
And Jeff, are you going to be at the 12:30 meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Is our next meeting late February
Yes.
25th? Okay.
Yes.
Elaine, might you have to have another meeting if the grant, the MVP grant moves forward?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We won't need to meet until the February 25th. But we might. You never know. Something might come up. I'll let you know if it does. So our next meeting is scheduled for February 25th.
which I will not be attending.
Correct. All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Who's seconding it? All right. Jeff was first, Brad was second. Roll call vote.
Thomas, I.
Foster, I.
Pool eye.
Oops, I.
Moss, I.
Bush, aye.
Vallejo, aye. Thank you all, and we will keep moving on.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Good
Bye.
night.